Hello everyone, welcome to the Adkup Show. So Russia is putting massive tariffs on Chinese goods. And by the way, it's not a new news. It has been happening since the last year, probably since December 2024. But now it becomes more important in current geopolitical environment because it raises few questions about this relationship. Is their relationship really as strong as shown in the mainstream Western media, or is there more to it? We'll talk about that later in this video, but before that, let's discuss about Russia's tariffs on Chinese goods. So this is a very interesting article I found while I was researching about this topic. And it's basically from ChinaLegalExperts.com and Choi and Partners. And when I clicked on About, I just found that it's basically a Chinese legal firm, like they provide some sort of a business solution. So when I read the article, I just figured out like they accept, like China is accepting, and there is a kind of frustration among like why there's tariffs on Chinese goods. So this article was published on February 12th, 2025, and the heading is obviously Russian tariffs on China, list of goods and their impact on trade. So the article says that Russian tariffs on China have created new trade tensions between two powerful countries, which are usually strong allies. Well, you decide what does that mean. And then we have, why does Russia impose tariffs on Chinese goods? So they gave like 4 reasons. Protect domestic industries, which is obvious. And the second is trade balance. So according to this article, Russia uses tariffs to address the trade deficit it faces in its economic relationship with China. By the way, this is very unusual reasoning because, Russia is trading a lot with India also. And with India's case, it's like India has a big trade deficit with Russia. But and Russians don't know what to do with the rupee which they're getting from India. So, but still, there is not really this kind of aggressive move from Russia when it comes to economics towards India. Now, the third reason they gave is revenue generation. I mean, this is a very common reason which is given even by Donald Trump, right? Because tariff serves as an important source of income for the Russian government. By taxing imports, Russia can generate additional revenue that can be allocated to various public sectors. And the final reason which the China this website is giving is geopolitical factors. Now, tariffs can also be a tool for aligning trade policies with broader geopolitical strategies. So basically, the Chinese side is trying to say or trying to understand that because the world is becoming more protectionist, so even Russia is also doing this, and they are doing this with China also. And then we have another article, the same, and this article was published on 31st January 2025. And the heading is quite straightforward. Russia quietly imposes trade tariffs on ally China. Now, this is not a big article, a long article, but there are 2 important things to note in this article. The first one is this: the China's share in Russia's auto market also soared from less than 10% in 2021 to over 60% in 2023. Now, this is extremely big. If you observe carefully, if you notice carefully, then you'll find out that 10%, from 10% to 60% in just 3 years. Now, this is very, very quick grab of market, basically. And Russia is not happy about it. And there is a reason behind why Russia is not happy about it, which we will discuss later in this video. And the second point is this one. Moscow in October ratcheted up its scrap tax. Scrap tax is basically tariff, and they don't want to talk about it because it doesn't sound good. on imported vehicles by 70 to 85%. Basically, Chinese are dumping their vehicles, EVs, in Russian market, and by doing that, the Russian industries are feeling heat. And in order to control that, the Moscow is kind of, they have started this huge tariff. They have imposed this huge tariffs on Chinese automakers. When I spoke to when I talked to Grok about this, like why, or when I asked Grok is basically the Elon Musk's AI platform. So why Russia is putting tariffs on Chinese goods? So even Grok gave kind of like 4 reasons, and these 4 reasons were very similar to the reasons which we saw in the articles. So the first reason is protection of domestic industries, which is obvious. The second is economic strategy and revenues, the same reason which Donald Trump gives all the time, like, tariffs will generate revenue for the government. And the third is a response to market dynamics. Basically, the influx of Chinese goods driven by a record $244.8 billion bilateral trade in 2024 has raised concerns about Russia becoming a dumping ground for Chinese excess capacity. Now, dumping ground is the word which needs to be considered in this. First, we have to understand that China has this problem of excess capacity, right? They produce too much, and which the countries as well as the Chinese internal market cannot consume. So in this case, if any country gives like too much of access to their goods and services, then 3 things will happen. The first thing is their industries will get hurt. And if their industries will get hurt, then it will lead to unemployment. And the third thing which will happen is deflation. Now, if these 3 things, happens in any economy, then that will lead to massive, you can say, it can lead to, it becomes a big problem. Then that problem's like, it's not a small economic problem. It'll become very difficult for the government to solve that problem. Now, after analyzing this data, there are a few questions which comes to mind. Why Russia is not supporting China openly in this trade war?
Пословица, когда тигры дерутся в долине, умная обезьяна сидит и смотрит, чем это закончится.
Since this trade war between the US and China started, there has been no meeting of BRICS or even between Russia and China related to trade or de-dollarization or about how to counter America's aggressive moves. In fact, if you search a bit, then you will find out that on 8th November, Russia's Putin says he no longer wishes to dethrone the US dollar as he reunites with buddy Donald Trump. Now, this article was on November 8th, right? So it says that this bold move comes just after Trump's recent victory in the election, and Putin's about face has people raising eyebrows around the world. The timing is a bit too perfect. So this is very weird. And there's another article which was again published on November 8th, 2024, which says that Russia declares it will not abandon the US dollar after Trump's victory. And in a shocking turn of events for BRICS alliance, Russian President Vladimir Putin has declared that they will not abandon the US dollar. In a live interview on Thursday, Putin confirmed that Russia is not abandoning the dollar, but is simply refusing to use the dollar as a payment tool. Now, this is very weird. Because, suddenly when Donald Trump came to power, the entire tone of Russia changed. Before Donald Trump coming to power, Russia was like they wanted to de-dollarize. And they were actually planning a lot of things with China. But now, after he came to power, it's actually Russia who went forward, who took the initiative, and it said that they don't want to de-dollarize, which raises a lot of questions. Is there a secret understanding between the US and Russia? Well, I leave that up to you to think and decide. But if you're asking about my personal opinion, then I believe that there is something secret about all this. By the way, Donald Trump won the election on November 5th, and on November 7th or 8th, Russia said it has no plan of ditching dollar. That's interesting. Now, if you observe carefully, then you will find out that there is something which is happening in real time, which makes you think about several possibilities. And here's the thing about the real time. Spain's Pedro Sanchez aims for closer trade ties with China aimed U.S. tariffs uncertainty. And this was published on 11th April 2025. Basically, and Washington has actually criticized Spain's outreach to China, with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying cozying up to Beijing is like cutting your own throat. Basically, they warned, the U.S. warned about this. And even CGTN reported about this, like Spain to seek closer ties with China despite U.S. cutting own throat warning. If we scroll a bit, then we'll find out that China has invested over $10 billion in Spain over last 4 years, helping the Spanish economy to grow 5 times faster than European average. At the same time, Spain buys around $50 billion worth of goods from China each year. So it's not just about Spain, actually. Even France, the opposition in France, they are also quite, they have shown their interest of, aligning themselves closer to China, especially when it comes to economics. The same goes with Germany. The Germans are they are trying hard to somehow get a good deal from Chinese. Now, while this is happening, we are also seeing that the Russia is kind of, distancing itself from the alliance, the no-limit friendship alliance with China. So in this scenario, we are kind of seeing a possibility where European Union is like getting close with China, while America and Russia are trying to, build some understanding, if not any deal or any alliance. But this is what is happening in current time. Anyways, this was a small analysis, or maybe a small observation from my side. What do you think about all this? Let me know your thoughts in comment section. And if you found this insightful, then hit that like button and subscribe for more such videos. See you again. Peace out.